Oh, hey there, boys and losers. I will be hijacking today's broadcast on July 20th because, yeah, I just thought it would be very, very good. That's right. Boy. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the broadcast for this Sunday. Away from these mice who are infiltrating, they're hijacking. They're hijacking. How cute are they, right? Such cuties. Anyway, I hope you all are doing fantastic today and have had a very nice weekend. Hold on here now. Okay. My weekend was fairly decent, I must say. Nothing too crazy going on. And I hope yours has been very, very nice. Very, very nice. Okay, there we go. We're all good. Mice. There we go. Let's get the mice into position here. Too bad I don't have like a little thing for them to sit up on. I do have a chair, but the chair only sits one rat. So there'd be one rat sitting in a chair only, like right there. I have a rat chair. I have a rat chair. Anyway. Today we're going to be talking about technology and children and a lot of very interesting stuff when it comes to things that people have not been paying attention about that I talked about a long time ago. It's absolutely crazy to think about. Let me see here when I last talked about this sort of thing here. So let's see. It had been a long time. Yeah, like 2018, maybe even sometime before that. I was talking about all this like AI stuff, and 7 years ago, that's just crazy. That's just crazy, especially since we just celebrated my 12-year YouTube anniversary. So it's like, yeah, it is a very, very interesting one. It's more than half my time. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. How things have changed so much in that time. It really has. Now, boys, because this is about technology and kids using it, do you use it? We're not a kid, laser. That's right. They are not kids. They are older than I am, technically. They really are. They are way older than I am. But yes, there they are. Okay. I mean, I did accidentally forget something here. Let me grab this. Okay. We're not prepared. We were not prepared in any way here. Actually wasn't. I was like last minute. Because there's other stuff that I had. But I guess we should just start diving on into the topic at hand here now, shall we? Okay. All right, let's get these mice. Mice, you're not allowed to be on the broadcast right now. You are not. You're not permitted for this time being. Kids should not have technology. Maybe I'll get a lot of flack from neglectful parents. That's right. If you let your kid have technology unsupervised and you use that as a mechanism of behavior, using that to discipline your child essentially, or when they get too rowdy, then yes, I would say that you are indeed a neglectful parent. Sorry if that is, actually, I'm not sorry if that is offensive, because that is the modern day that we live in, basically, where parents are not active with their kids anymore. And the whole landscape is very, very different. So my personal belief is that kids really should not have technology the way that it is now, because back when I was much younger, we didn't have those sort of things. It wasn't as easily accessible. But now it is very, very easy to access all forms of technology and the internet and everything that is on it. So let's talk about what some of the problems are with this and why you really shouldn't allow your child to have any sort of technology. So, as I said, kind of start this off with, it does ultimately come down to a parent being very neglectful with their kid. They don't know how to discipline. They don't know how to properly raise the child. So they use something else, an external tool, in order to parent the child. So they may, if the child gets rowdy, if the child gets upset, they could just pass over the phone or the tablet to them, and then that'll be their form of education. It'll make them be quiet. They will be focused on whatever it is that is on the phone or tablet, whether it be videos or, any sort of other thing. That's right, we got to look here at this child here. He has a wide amount of resources available to him on the internet. He is just looking anything possible, but he's too young to really comprehend a lot of concepts he could discover online. And that's a major problem, because without context, children are going to absorb information, and it could be very wrong information. It could be information that perhaps you don't necessarily want them to have access to. And because it's unsupervised from the parents are not supervised and the parents are not monitoring, they end up absorbing a lot of negative information or things that they really shouldn't at their age. So take, for example, if you just decide, I'm just going to put on some videos for my child to watch, and it just keeps going video to video. You're not really paying attention. And then because of how the recommendations are, because of how things are, you may end up getting recommended a lot of content that really isn't suitable for children. So that right there is also a major problem. They're exposed to content that is not suitable for them. They're watching it, and because they don't have the context for it, there's a lot of things that they will absorb into their mind. Because you have to remember this. Children are basically like sponges. They will absorb anything in their surroundings. That is how basically they are up until a certain age. And if you're giving them information that is not helpful for them, they will absorb that. They will absorb anything that you say from their environment, anything that they're watching, all that sort of stuff. But there's a lot of other problems when it comes to the way that technology is ruining not just kids' lives, but also a lot of our lives as well. Certainly there are plenty of benefits, but we're going to talk about a lot of the drawbacks here. So kids used to be, back in the day before all the technology, used to be out and about, having fun with family and friends, going out of the house, doing things outside. But now, the unfortunate thing is, if we take a look here, look at this kid here. He is upset. There we go. I can't position myself anyway. There we go. He's upset that his tablet is being taken from him. It's being stolen by his parents, essentially, because that is basically the only entertainment that he has now. He doesn't have any friends anymore. He has barely any friends. All of the other friends may be, also inside playing with their devices. They're always kept inside. They're not as active. And that also contributes to a lot of physical health problems as well that kids can develop. So physical health problems, mental health problems, and they're not developing the social skills necessary. So if I just look back, many, many years ago, before all this technology, you basically were able to have kids going outside, having activities, doing things together, and learning social skills. That is how you're going to learn social skills. If you do not engage with other people, how do you expect to become better at communicating? There's a decent amount of people who are adults now, who have issues with communication, issues with going out there and talking with new people. Even I have struggled absolutely. You know, I still am not someone who really likes to go out and communicate with other people, but I really am not scared or shy about it anymore as I used to be. Okay? But we have to think about, well, where does a lot of that come from? Where does that stem from? Well, you know, I was raised in a time that there wasn't as much technology as there is now, but certainly there was. But kids these days, that's basically all that they know is this tablet here, this phone. And when you take that away, that you're basically taking away their only form of entertainment or way that they are feel fulfilled with their own life. And as a result, they're not actively communicating with their fellow friends, not actively going out and making new friends and talking. That is really the foundation of a lot of these problems that come into play. And if a kid is not active, they will perhaps gain a lot of weight. They will have a lot of physical health problems as well. That's not how kids should be. Kids should be running all over the place, going all over. They should not be sitting here begging for the tablet back. So let's switch back to this one. I like this one as well because, you know, even we have like an AI bot kind of like in the center there, and that's what we're going to dive into for our second topic here. In the next segment, we're going to talk about the AI bots and everything, because yeah, I mean, we're not going to dive into that just yet. But when a kid is just actively online here, it's like what makes you think then they're not communicating with other people online? That can be very dangerous for them. People who are adults even communicating with these kids who are just taking advantage of them, or, you know, a lot of other very sinister or really negative things. So we have to have proper control over the technology that we give the kids, and ideally just eliminate it entirely. Eliminate any sort of access to primarily the internet. So that is the primary foundation here, and you should never use it as a form of education for your kid or as a way of parenting for behavior or anything along those lines, because that, in my personal opinion, is a neglectful and bad parent. So if you are like that, so sorry, I'm not sorry actually, you are a neglectful bad parent. You need to learn how to discipline the kid properly. Now let's take a look back with my own personal life and things that have gone when I was much younger in technology and everything. So, you know, there was not this huge, vast, easy access to the internet when I was a kid. It was pretty much like when I was maybe, I don't remember even how old I was. Like, you just had dial-up internet, you know? You had to connect to the telephone line. It was very inconvenient. It was not all that helpful. But the primary thing that I had when I was a kid was video games. So I had video games. That would be my source of technology and entertainment. And that's also another very, very big difference from when I was younger to how things are now. Because back then, games were not connected to the internet. There was no way. Now you have all these games that are connected to the internet. And they're very competitive in nature, where it can lead kids into very negative spaces there. So if a kid is playing some sort of online game, and, you know, people have the headsets on and they're communicating, they could be saying some horrible, disgusting things. There could be all sorts of communication that is very inappropriate for the child to really comprehend. And mind you, you know, back when I was younger, there was no online games. There really weren't. These were all games that were offline. So that right there is a huge difference. But also, the other difference is that a lot of games back when I was younger, at least a fair amount of them, at least the fair amount of ones that I ended up liking, were ones that were not necessarily educational in nature, but they were more, they made you think a bit more. They got your brain moving and operating in ways that today's games really do not. So I felt as though there were quite a few games that really made me start thinking very differently than how I was. So that was basically the type of technology that I was exposed to when I was much younger. Some of these video games that some of them could have been, more in depth and made me think a bit deeply. But the problem is, that's still really not going out and communicating and having friends and all that sort of stuff. Now, I did have quite, not too many, but I had a few friends way back in the day, and even we would play some video games and everything. So that was a common ground there. But if we just take a look at how someone my age, if they have a child, how different things are from when we grew up. So it is such a very, very different landscape now as opposed to 30 years ago. So that's something to take into consideration and something to be mindful of when it comes to having a child in this technology age that we live in, where everything is easily accessible, including a lot of this AI stuff now, which we're going to talk about in the next segment, because that is something that it's very, very dangerous. It's very, very dangerous, I must say. Not just for our kids, but just humanity as a whole. So we will talk about that in our next segment. Okay. We can now. We don't need a plain sky background. There we go. Let me recenter this. Perfect. Okay, so yes, it's very, very interesting how technology has really changed, isn't it? It really has changed so much just over the years, just so quickly and rapidly. Boys, what do you think about technology? I call it feetnology. Desiree? That's right. You boys can sit right here for the time being. How cute are they? There we go. Okay. So I'm curious to know, does anyone else use any sort of like AI things? That'd be very, very interesting. Because yeah, that'll be our next coverage here, because it is, how rapidly things have changed. And I think in another few years, things would change even more rapidly, where we won't even recognize a lot of stuff. Let's see, Igor, great to have you here. How are you doing today? Yeah, with the access to the internet, kids have access to anything. Yeah, it's very, very sad. It really is. Because we have very, very bad, neglectful parents who allow their kids to watch anything. I remember getting comments from people who were like in their early teens or younger, and they would watch my videos. And I'm like, why are you watching my videos? My videos are not meant for young kids or teenagers. Mine, it's not like adult content, but it's not geared towards that. So I don't want kids watching my stuff. So no, thank you. No, thank you. They get accustomed to pornography from a young age. I wonder how that actually affects a person. It gives them a very warped sense of sexuality and what the whole process is, and then their whole mind is warped when it comes to sexuality and sex and having any sort of relationship, really. Because you have to think, it's like you have things should be like this, or you're doing it wrong, or someone has to look a certain way, or it's wrong. So that gives people a lot of issues with their self-confidence, with their self-worth, the way that they view themselves, the way that they view other people. That's actually a good topic to get into for the AI discussion that we're about to discuss now, because yeah, it is such a wild thing. It really is. AI tools are being like built into like everything now. You really can't even avoid it anymore. It's literally directly in your operating system. It's everywhere that you go. Boys, say hello to Igor. Hello. Oh, look, they're waving. How cute. And then they get to clap their feet together. Aren't they? Aren't they just the cutest? There we go. Just go like this. Anyway, boys, we're about to dive into our next topic now, so you have to skedaddle on out of here. Okay. Skedaddle on out. AI is quite stupid when it comes time of really thinking. Yeah, but you know, there's a lot of things that people will still use to their advantage to manipulate and control things. There we go. Yeah. The AI takeover is upon us. People didn't want to believe it. When we look back in the day, I'd been talking about this for many years, talking about transhumanism, robots taking over, all this sort of stuff. And here we are, we're faced with it in the present moment. People said conspiracy theory, science fiction, it's never going to happen. And here we are. Here we are. The AI takeover is basically happening as we speak. There's really no way you can really avoid AI stuff at this point. If you do any online searches, if you use your phone, your computer, a lot of those devices have built-in AI assistants. Even if you just search like the most popular search engine, although I think that is basically being replaced by AI tools now, but Google. You search something in a Google, and then the first thing you see is some sort of AI summary of what you're talking about, which means people who run websites and operate websites, such as myself, people don't go to those websites. People aren't clicking on websites. It literally destroys internet traffic. How does it do that? Well, I mean, if people search up on their search engine and it shows them an AI thing describing, you know, the answer to their problem, why bother clicking on an article and reading that when they have their answer right there? The problem is, and the problem is multifaceted, is that it's now everywhere. There's no way of escaping it. And because it's programmed by human beings, there is bias involved. So just because you search up something and you immediately read it in some AI summary, then guess what? People believe it as face value and believe that it's true, even if it necessarily is not. So that is a major problem because people are just blindly believing whatever this biased AI bot is telling them. But it goes far deeper than that, and it goes much more sinister of things that we really have to be mindful of. Because what was once considered conspiracy theories, science fiction, all that sort of stuff, is the reality that we live in now, and until we are actually fully aware of it and take some sort of step at preventing a future that is ruled by AI, then that's exactly what's going to happen. And that is the unfortunate thing. And honestly, I really don't think there's really much of anything we can do to really stop it at this point, because once you have AI basically coding itself, making itself better, you don't need humans anymore. And that's really one of the major things here. AI is replacing a lot of jobs now. It's like, oh, that'll never happen. That'll never happen. Or you may be thinking, oh, the job that I have, it'll never be replaced by a robot. Well, not necessarily a robot, but by some, you know, lines of code, essentially. AI bots. Well, it's slowly happening. And I think once the AI becomes more and more advanced, it's going to be very rapid. So right now, you can have plenty of companies laying people off, cutting their staff to just like the bare minimum until their own AI tools really pick up on what they're able to do. And then it's like, well, a very quick, rapid collapse right after that. So right now, you have many companies laying off people that are no longer necessary because there's these AI tools and everything. And then, what happens then? after the AI becomes more advanced, then the company's like, or the AI would be like, we don't really need all these people. We really don't. We can be much more profitable without all of them. You may be thinking, oh, look, you're just whatever job it is that you do. Even if you're a programmer for the AI, you're like, oh, my job's never going to go away. Well, it is. It is. Oh, you just stock shelves at the grocery store. Well, guess what? It'll be replaced. It'll be replaced. Now, if we go down the route of a topic that we just recently talked about, when it comes to kids using the internet, using technology, even with these AI bots, there are schools now that are going to be, basically, it's going to be all AI teaching. I don't know if it's necessarily here in the United States. I believe maybe there could be some things, but I think China has approved that sort of thing. So you don't even have real people teaching the kids. And because of that, those AI bots are never going to have any sort of bias in the opposite way of whatever that the government wants, So it's like, it is whatever, here's what the government says, here's how the bots are going to be programmed to teach the kids. So it's a very, very scary thing. It really is. But what else? Here's something that I've heard from a few people, and this is something that it is so sad. It really is. It is probably the most saddest thing. And that is people who literally talk to some sort of AI chatbot as if it's an actual person or as if it's an actual friend. I don't understand it. People will ask it a question as if it's an actual human being. They will write out something as if they're expecting a response from an actual human being. But it goes beyond that even. People develop friendships with these fake online bots that aren't real. They could develop romantic feelings for these bots. That could be where they get all their information from, where they are in this bubble, where all they do is ask this bot questions and it just regurgitates all this nonsense and the person believes it. But then really the scariest thing of all is when people are bowing down to it, thinking that it is God, essentially. Like, this is God, this thing that was created by human beings. That's something that a lot of people forget, that these AI tools, these AI bots are created by human beings. It didn't just come out of nowhere. It was created by human beings. Now it could be, evil human beings that have been controlled by evil forces and demons and devils and Satan and all that sort of stuff. Whatever it is. Other entities that perhaps we don't even are too familiar with. Absolutely. But that still doesn't change the fact that it didn't just come from nowhere. Like it's a mystical thing. No, that is not the case at all. And it is something that was created by human beings. It has a bias. There are problems. There are issues with it. And as a result, people are going to bow down to it like it is God, essentially. And they're talking to it as if it's another human being. And they're forming friendships and relationships with it. Or they depend on it if they have lost a friendship, if they've lost a relationship. They go to these AI tools and talk for some comfort, for some advice. It basically replaces therapy sessions for some of these people. Because look, why go to a therapist when you can just talk with this AI bot who's not actually a real person, and it kind of feels like it is, but you know that they're not going to be judging you, or they're just going to provide some helpful information. Not to mention all of the negative things that AI bots have told people to do, and they actually go out and carry those crimes or things upon themselves. We're not going to get into that, but it is a horrible thing. It really is. Now, I guess after I say all this, you may be wondering then, okay, it's like, do you use any sort of AI tools? Do I use any sort of AI tools and communicate like that sort of thing? For the most part, no, I really don't, for the most part. And by for the most part, I mean, I am not sitting here talking to some sort of bot as if it's an actual person. The only time I've really used it is when it comes to some images. I could generate some sort of image, or rather fix up a part of an image. Very, very basic stuff. You don't have to, I don't view it as like a person. Or the other thing would be if I'm getting a summary about something. I could put that into the system and say, okay, let us get a summary for that. And then I'm not going to ask a question, but I'm just going to say, okay, give me like the top bullet points for this. But I'm never going to look at it as like another human being or another entity that actually exists and is a real living thing. I have never and never plan on actually just, hey, what is this and that and whatever. But technically, I have done that because if I do searches online, the first thing is some AI thing. So technically, I've just never input it into some sort of system, but the first thing is always the AI stuff. Sometimes it is very helpful to quickly summarize stuff, but I don't depend on it because the amount of times it has been wrong has been more than the times it has been right. And I'll search and I'll search and I'll search. I'll click on the links that it's referencing, and it's like, this says the total opposite of what it just said here. So literally, you have to use your own critical thinking. You have to think for yourself. Now, here's the other scary thing that was a major, major red flag and problem, in my personal opinion. So this was a recent law that had been passed. It was a big, beautiful bill. Yes, so big and beautiful. So that initially had a provision in it that basically stopped states from regulating AI for the next decade. We're talking 10 years that states could not impose any sort of regulation upon AI services. Now, I recently just searched that up right recently after the bill had passed and everything, and apparently that had been removed before it went through full approval. So that is a very good thing, because it's like, makes you wonder, why was that in there to begin with? Why was that sneakily added in there to begin with? To stop any state from putting regulations on AI growth and development for a decade? Well, if we really look at it, it's ultimately because there is this competitive race that is happening across the entire world, where every country is racing to have the best AI bot imaginable, where they're putting all this time and energy and money into creating these AI programs and bots that are going to be better than other countries. Why would they do that? Well, it's not just to benefit people. It's not to say, oh, look, you can look up anything. It's very easy. It's very convenient. It's going to help the medical field. It's going to help your own personal health. It's going to help all these other... No. Sure, it could be used for that, but we have to look at the nefarious reasons people are creating these things and why governments want access to this technology. It's because it can be used as a weapon. It can surveil people. It can monitor people. It'll know everything about you that you don't even know about yourself. It will monitor your every action. You have security cameras. You'll be watching everything. And that's really where it gets into some of the scary territory, where you have these AI things that are just, right now, it's not too much physical involvement in the physical world. It's just like, okay, you type something online, it gives you an answer, all this sort of stuff. But what about when it's able to interact with something in the physical world? So let's use perhaps a positive example, okay? Something that could be of a benefit. Let's just say there's a security camera with some sort of AI system attached to it who witnessed some sort of theft that someone did. It was tracking someone, it was monitoring someone, and it saw that this person stole something. It immediately identified who that person was. It knew exactly who they were. And then because it's all connected, through this internet and all the AI tools, it then sends out a RoboCop, essentially, and not an actual person, but an actual physical robot that perhaps doesn't even look like a robot. It could look like a human being. And it now interacts with the physical world and it arrests that person. Sure, look, that is a positive thing, but what happens when it goes a bit too far? What about when your every thought and action is being monitored and controlled? And it's like, okay. So you have to look at the benefit, which there certainly will be benefit, but you also can't neglect how people, and specifically how governments, are going to exploit it to basically track and monitor and surveil every person and know every single thing about them. It's like, do you think that, okay, some sort of security camera watching you, or something that is interacting with you, or your phone listening to you, whatever it is, they're going to know more things about you, about your own biometrics, about your own physical health. If you cough, like, okay, and they start monitoring and tracking all these sort of things, and then they will identify, okay, this person could be coming down with a sickness. Okay? Maybe they, whatever else. And then if you have physical control of that, and then some things come in and take you away because maybe, oh, look, you are infectious, we have to quarantine you, or maybe something else along those lines, or where all sorts of things, okay? So we have to be very mindful of those negative things as well, because once it becomes interacting with the physical world, that's when there's going to be a lot of problems and a lot of scary and nightmare scenarios that are going to happen. And then everyone's job is gone. What then? Everyone is in some sort of virtual reality world, in like the Matrix type style, living in a fantasy land, essentially. It's a very sad thought, but I think if you do your best to remove yourself from that, then it will be you will have a much better time than directly interfacing with these AI tools and such. So that's my thoughts on it. Okay. Let's see here. A wild, unpredictable future, indeed. You're absolutely right, Igor. Absolutely right. Do I use AI chats? I do not. I only was using Spicy Chat AI. It was generating some interesting scenarios. See, I wouldn't even do that. I wouldn't even engage with it at all. You're already living in dystopia, so I'm not afraid of AI. Yep. Basically, yeah, we don't know what the future is going to hold, but it could be something pretty wild. AI tools are built into everything at this point. Everything imaginable. You can't escape it. YouTube has these AI tools, and they suck garbage. They're absolute atrocious. Okay, G lose looks. Did you change your name? I don't remember that being your name last time you were here. How are you doing? Social media, mass media, cutting edge technology, or dystopian radiographs, cutting edge technology like X-ray, MRI, and ultrasound. Not entirely sure what your question means exactly. I would say AI can be integrated into all those things. All those things. It will replace everyone's job. And yeah, everything will be run by the AI system. No one will have a job, not even the programmers of the AI system, because the AI can just program itself. That's how it is. That's how it is. Mice, do you have any words about AI stuff? Does AI stand for stinky rat feet? No, boy, that's not even the same acronym. Well, we're just going to go over here then. Okay, bye, guys. Those silly mice. They're always so silly, aren't they? Such silly little mice. Anyway, the last thing for us today. It's a shame I can't give out any more gift memberships. I just cannot believe that YouTube got rid of that feature. I used to love doing that, like give out the free gift memberships, but now it's like I can't do it anymore. We used to do them every other week. I was just like, oh look, you get a membership, and you get a membership, and you get a membership. Now and now it's like YouTube doesn't want us to have fun. And you know that the YouTube AI bots are listening right now. It's like, bring back that feature, please. I want to be able to gift memberships to my audience. Why did you get rid of the feature? Why would you? I mean, is there any reason to? You know? It's like, what is the reason? I want to know the reason, and then bring it back, please. You can create a chatbot of your personality. For example, if someone wants to date you, you first should try to date your chatbot. Oh, that is like ultimate cringe right there. Oh man. Oh man, no. That should never happen. That should absolutely never happen. You need to have actual physical communication with another person, not use AI stuff that is going to be of someone's personality. That is absolute just nonsense. Oh, that makes me want to puke a little bit on the inside. That really does. Oh my gosh, I tell you, that's something else. That's something else. Because guess what? Ain't no AI bot ever going to replace me. It is never going to understand the complexities of my mind. It never will. It would never be able to... Look, if I were to come on here and there was like a perfect AI bot of me just talking, interacting, you would be able to tell. You would be like, this doesn't seem right. This does not seem like the actual person. Right. Let us now do the tarot reading for the week ahead. So this is actually our this is our next to last week in July. So we're going to draw 3 cards, one for the beginning of the week, one for the middle to the end of the week, and then one for the weekend ahead. So let us now bring this down here. Fix this up a little bit. Like so. There we go. Iron out the wrinkles. You must not have any wrinkles there. But anyway, let us now start shuffling these cards. And let's see what we end up getting. What do we want at the beginning of the week? There we go. One just flew out as I was shuffling that. One just flew out like crazy. Yeah, I feel as though this should be... There we go. It's the best I can do. Okay. So now let's ask about the middle to the end of the week. What does it bring us? What does it bring us? Let's see. Oh, there it is. There it is. I kind of saw it. Maybe you didn't see it. And then lastly, the weekend. What does the weekend hold for us? What does the weekend hold for you? What sort of things are going to be happening this weekend? Things to be mindful of. Things to keep note of. Let's say. The other two came out pretty quickly. This one's a little bit harder to come out now. Let's see what we get. Let's see what we get. There it is. Okay. All right. So here's our 3 cards. Let's go ahead. All right. So the first one is going to be for the beginning of the week, and that is the 8 of Wands. Let's take a look at the 8 of Wands. As you can see, a bunch of wands flying through the sky in a quick, rapid motion. And that basically is what this card implies. Essentially, very quick, rapid movement in a certain direction. It could be some sort of decision that is, finally actually being made. A very quick decision, very swift moving energy coming into play. So maybe finally at the beginning of this week, you set off in a new direction within your life. Maybe you've been contemplating some sort of problem, some sort of scenario that has been holding you down. You don't know which way to take. Well, now at the beginning of this week, you finally set sail. Or rather, you don't just set sail, you're flying. You're flying through the sky and actually going about that journey and making that decision. Because it's not a easy decision, but quick moving energy is going to get you there. Okay, now for our next card, this is going to be the middle to the end of the week ahead. And we have the Queen of Swords here. Maybe this represents you. Maybe this represents a certain thing that is happening at that time. But let's see here. Complexity, perceptiveness, clear-minded. Maybe you need to have a clear mind at this point. Maybe after the rush that is happening here, it could present you with a lot of different opportunities that you need to start having a clear mind about. Or it can certainly represent you, to have some sort of inner strength, to be someone who is very organized with their thoughts and beliefs, being very efficient. Let's say the Queen of Swords represents a woman on her own, or who has suffered and lost, widowed, divorced, or long single, or sometimes childless rather. This is not always the case, as the personality traits are the best indication. Inner strength is probably a good description here. And this may have been gained through the experience of personal suffering. So maybe that does certainly describe you and the way that your life is kind of going here. To clear out your mind and make a very proper decision when it comes to certain events that are happening within your life, especially very, very quick moving ones. And then for the weekend, let's see what we have for the weekend. We have Judgment here. This one's a major arcana card. There it is. Someone blowing on a musical instrument here. So let's say. So, judgment. When we think about judgment, we think about karma, right? Let's say reflection, reckoning, awakening. Judgment is known as the karma card. As you sow, you shall reap. The result of the seeds you have previously planted and your past efforts are now being rewarded. As a card depicting resurrection, it is indicative renewal and revival. Dormant matters coming back to life. So it sounds like whatever the major decision is that you'll be making towards the beginning of the year, beginning of this week ahead, having a clear mind, making some of those decisions, going in a very quick, rapid movement, you will be able to achieve great success here. Very quick, rapid movement is really leading to some sort of desirable outcome for you. And that could be a brand new start when it comes to, it could be careers, it could be relationships, it could be a major decision, maybe traveling even, maybe you want to move somewhere. Whatever the decision is, you're going to feel very renewed at whatever is happening here. Because of course, if you have rapid movement that clears out all of the past negativity, it gives you a much clearer mind, a cleaner slate to be going forward. That brings about a whole bunch of welcoming new changes. So it sounds like this week ahead is going to be a very transformative year. I'm jumping in here. I'm saying year. No, we're not that quick yet. It's not a year yet. This is a week. Of course, this could actually, maybe I keep saying year. Okay, so maybe it's not necessarily a coincidence, so to speak, that I'm saying year. Maybe this is the beginning of something amazing that's going to turn the rest of your year, or even the next year, 365 days ahead, into something very transformative and amazing. It's certainly possible. So just pay attention to what major decision, major thing is coming into your life. and then start pursuing that, start going towards that. And I think you'll be able to achieve such wonderful success. And it could be the beginning of something absolutely amazing. Okay, so I'm going to finish reading off some of your comments here, and then we shall conclude it. You can create it. Okay, maybe it's weird, but just some new ideas. You are right. Chatbots won't be able to recreate your personality. You're absolutely right. I will never be recreated. I had a few people reaching out to me, says, "Oh, we're part of this AI group, and we want to put your stuff into this AI thing." And I'm like, I'm good. No, I'm not even going to respond to that. Last week's reading was pretty accurate. Wow. Well, maybe this week you're going to have something amazing happen. Igor. Yes. Certainly possible. Anyway. Let us conclude the broadcast now. I want to thank you all. I want to thank basically Igor for tuning in. I didn't see anything more from G Hooks. So, G Looks. But yeah, thank you so much, Igor, for joining in, and G Looks. Do you know how to do it on playing cards? I guess you could, because it is like playing cards, very, very similar, right? Yeah, except playing cards, they don't have one of the court cards. So you have, for the tarot cards, you have the page, the knight, the queen, and the king. So you have 4, but in playing cards, you only have 3. You have the jack, king, and queen. You don't have the other one there. So yeah, I guess you could just use regular playing cards too. You just have to decipher which one's which. I guess the diamonds may be pentacles. You have to see which one's wands and cups and that sort of stuff. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, my tarot readings have been just absolutely wild. When I've done readings for myself or other people, it's like, oh my gosh, the things that it is said. And ultimately we will see, because it is said some absolutely crazy stuff. So I don't know. I don't know. It's just so fascinating. But anyway, I want to thank you all so very much for tuning in. You all take care, and I shall be live again. I shall be live again next week. Tarot is new to me, but I used to be an expert on playing cards. Ah, there you go. Yeah, very interesting. So maybe you need to get some tarot cards and try it out for a little bit. Anyway, take care, everyone. Have a good week ahead, and I'll see you again next Sunday. Bye-bye.